Hi, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the Senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and really delighted to welcome you to this week's episode of Kibbitzing with Kagan, where I have brief conversations with people I find fascinating. I often say that I fancy myself to be the Senator for the nonprofit sector, and one of the most effective, most dynamic nonprofit leaders in Montgomery County is today's guest. Welcome, Woody Woodroof of Red Wiggler Farm. Woody, thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Hi, Cheryl, thanks for having me, really.
Absolutely. So you are so impressive and what you do is so important for our community, but I suspect that a lot of people aren't as aware of it as they should be. So you have engaged thousands of people with and without disabilities in your work. Why don't you start with an overview of what Red Wiggler has done since you founded it in 1996?
Well, I'll give you the quick origin story if that's kind of what you're getting at. I was working in a group home in Tucson, Arizona in 94, 95. What I noticed in that group home was that the people that lived there needed good jobs, meaningful jobs, and they also just needed a job. But the other thing I noticed was that they were having health problems, taking lots of medicine, and that the food they were eating was mostly boxed and canned and not the healthiest. And so I came up with this idea to create a day program where we grew vegetables. And so all the participants would get paid to do this work. We'd sell the produce to then plow that money back into the program, but also that the participants would be able to take food home with them with a recipe. This is an idea at the time. And that we would, and that's how we would create community through food. And fast forward 25 years, and that's kind of pretty much what we're doing. We grow and sell vegetables as a framework for training adults with developmental disabilities. And it's a real job for these, our growers here at Red Wiggler in the up county of Montgomery County.
So let's do the basics. How did you get started? Why did you choose Montgomery County? How did you get the land?
Well, I was a starving artist at the time, and I was traveling back east. I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
And I had a photography job. I was a photographer and I shot weddings. I had one down in Virginia and then I had one up in New York, but I had a weekend in between. An old friend of mine was living in Montgomery County running a community supported agriculture program, which I knew nothing about at the time.
Amazing.
And I needed a place to stay on my travels from Virginia to New York. And I stayed on his couch. And this fella said, "We're leaving the farm and the family's looking to find another farmer." And I said, "Well, I've got this idea about a day program." And I had had been telling everybody that would listen across the country what I wanted to do. And an old friend pledged $10,000. So I said, "I've got $10,000. I can do it."
That's awesome.
I'd never grown anything in my life, and then I essentially sold myself to the family. I said, our farm managers will come and go, but I'll be the thread that you work with over time.
Remarkable.
And I have $10,000.
Wow. Which is really enough to buy lots and lots of land in Montgomery County.
Well, so the family allowed me to stay in a little apartment they had on the farm up in Comus, Maryland, on Peachtree Road. And I had a volunteer farmer help me. The first thing I did when I got here in January of '96 was call the ARC of Montgomery County. And I said, "I have $10,000. Wow. I want to hire as many people as I can, but I need a job coach to come with them." And so that started a relationship that continues to today with the ARC of Montgomery County, a partnership.
Amazing.
And one of those people we hired, my friend Jerry Dillon, He still works here,
Uh-huh.
and it's been a great ride with my friend Jerry. And a lot of people know him in the county. Some other partnerships that have made this possible are Leadership Montgomery and um, uh, really the partnership that we're no longer on Peachtree Road.
So let's
So
talk about
that partnership.
right.
Go ahead.
So you mentioned Leadership Montgomery. The way I first got introduced to Red Wiggler was through Leadership Montgomery on a bus tour going up to, what felt like Wyoming back
Yes.
then, very far away from my home in Rockville, and learning about what you do. How do most people find out about you?
Well, the internet's a good thing.
Yes.
But Leadership Montgomery, in fact, it was Jerry's mom that pushed me towards Leadership Montgomery. My friend, Jerry's brother, John Dillon,
Of course.
is a big guy in the county. And he called Esther Newman up and said,
you got to do this.
No, he said, my mother's made me call. And Esther loved that. She said, he's in. Anyway, that buzz, after I did it, there's a fellow named Bill Mooney who was in my class. He became the program coordinator for Leadership Montgomery. And he was like
CAO of the county a long time ago.
Right. And he said, we got to have that bus stop at Red Wiggler for lunch. And I tell you, there are a lot of things that have happened that if they hadn't happened, we wouldn't still be here. And that was one of them, because so much good has come out of the relationship with Leadership Montgomery over the years, whether it's board members or people helping with the programming or helping with the organizational aspects or the banking and just you name it.
So let's push a pause button for a second, because maybe not everyone who's watching this knows what Leadership Montgomery is. So do you want to do that? You want me to? Either way is fine.
I could try, but I bet you're really good at it.
You start. I'll jump in.
Well, when I came along, it was Leadership Montgomery is a 10-month core program where you take a day out of the month and you work with a group that's 40 to 50 classmates. You start with a retreat of sorts, and then but it takes you all over the county, and it's essentially for emerging leaders as well as existing leaders.
Well said. The only thing I would add is the diversity of, I think Esther used to have 7 kinds of diversity, and I'm not going to come up with all of them, but it was gender and ethnicity and geography and profession and socioeconomic and religious, and maybe I'm going to get close, but it was really bringing people together for an immersive experience who otherwise might never have crossed paths. And so Red Wiggler. So let's move back.
And
go ahead.
Well, it ultimately, it was a Leadership Montgomery project when we needed to move from Peachtree Road to somewhere because the family was selling the property. And that's how we were aligned with the park system in Montgomery County and developed a public-private partnership we grow on 12 acres of farmland up here in the park system and produce a lot of vegetables on that ground.
Fantastic.
And if I can just add that I wanted to squeeze this in, that 50% of everything we grow, we sell. And then 50% is delivered through our partners like Manna Food Center. And gosh, lately it's been all sorts of new partnerships developed over the past year. But that's where the food goes that we grow.
I have so many questions. Okay, so we have talked about that it is people with developmental disabilities, young people and adults, that it is also people without disabilities. What is the level of disabilities? There is certainly a broad range. for people with and without disabilities? Do they need gardening experience?
Well,
Do they need, what qualifies somebody to come in and help you?
well, usually it's a bit, they're a good fit. Our sort of pipeline is through volunteering to start with typically. Um, Sometimes an agency will make a referral if they find somebody that they feel like would do well here. And so we are a service learning site for MCP, the school system. And so a lot of people learn about us through that, through the Volunteer Center of Montgomery County.
Right.
Great program. But we have, for instance, we've got interns. This year we have a good group of interns, and they are high school kids, or we've got one person who's taking a gap year between high school and college. Sometimes we have interns who are changing careers midlife and wanting to stick their toe in the water of farming. A lot of times people come here to volunteer. They're interested in the environment because we are certified organic, and biodiversity is a big part of everything we do here, and health and inclusion also.
Yes.
But a lot of times the volunteers, they haven't had experiences with people with intellectual differences. And in many ways, our seasoned staff who also happen to have disabilities, they know a lot more about what a ripe tomato looks like, and what's a weed, and what's the plant you're there to cultivate.
Right.
And so sometimes we'll get people coming out thinking they're going to help out somebody, and really, and the tables get turned very quickly.
That's fantastic.
So it's almost kind of hard to tell who's the client in that case, who's the target audience,
Love that.
So we like to set up everyone in a leadership trajectory. No matter, everyone can lead in some way, and that's whether that's being a part of a tour, and sharing about what someone might know a lot about, or just being present at lunchtime. And it's okay that we don't talk,
right,
and have that experience. And so there are a lot of moving parts here. There are a lot of ways to get involved, but the main pipeline is generally through volunteerism.
That's great. So you are located in the Ag Reserve, which is a cherished part of Montgomery County, and clearly what Red Wiggler does is the perfect activity, perfect mission for the Ag Reserve. What sort of advocacy do you do? Do you ever feel like you're fighting incursions from county leadership or others? What's your biggest worry about your location?
Well, I always get a little nervous about, I personally advocate at times, like things that might be outside of our direct mission. It's just kind of debatable whether the solar in the Ag Reserve is really something Red Wiggler should get into, yet it's a big Ag Reserve issue right now. But I have served on the Agricultural Advisory Committee, and that was a real eye-opener. And we're vegetable farmers, and a lot of those folks at that time were commodity farmers, and that's like apples and oranges. Vegetables and commodities farming is very different. So that was a real education.
Right.
But we have done a great job since Royce Hansen, really forged a great example across the United States. People don't realize that the Ag Reserve is highlighted in just about every land use textbook out there.
Really?
It's a fairly complicated thing. I won't throw acronyms around, but the rezoning that happened and the way that they tried to create equity for those landowners was really creative and is a great example.
That's great.
And I'm here to say you can farm on 25 acres or less. In fact, you can farm on a lot less than 25 acres and make a living. It's not easy.
Right.
And in our case, we've done something with farming. We've add value to farming, just in the way that, say, Butler's Orchard adds value to their farm operation. It's not just strawberries right now. It's tours of their farm and fun things to do with kids, and they're adding value, and that's what leads to their bottom line.
I'm a
For
blueberry
us,
picker at Butler's Orchard. Love my fresh blueberries.
yes.
So COVID, because you were outside, what sort of precautions, what sort of steps did you have to take, and what's the status now? And we're recording
Yeah.
this.
Gosh, it's right. It is. So a year ago, we, our knees got weak, and we tried to figure it out real quick. And the information was changing all the time.
Mhm.
We have always masked indoors
Mhm.
since the beginning. Actually, not right in the beginning. They weren't suggesting it quite yet. But once they started suggesting it, masking indoors for sure, 6 feet. But we tried to go 8 to 10 feet. And none of our growers were able to get out of their houses. The agencies that served them, they were, even though we were an essential business as a food producer,
Mhm.
and the demand for local food was very high.
Mhm.
It's easy to forget, there were missing things on the shelves in the supermarket.
Right.
And so we were there was a lot of demand for food. It looked like our program wasn't going to happen in the same way for sure, which it didn't. But that's when we pivoted to making sure that everything that we could get out the door to. Black Rock Center started a food pantry, and Clarksburg Can started working out of a church up here in Clarksburg, and Manna was under a lot of pressure to do more.
Yep.
But slowly the growers were able to return.
Mhm.
In the field, those who could pass do you remember having to learn how to social distance? Like how some people
It's
got
hard for
it
me.
and other people, yeah, right. Would keep coming, and I would keep backing up.
Right. I want to hug. I want to talk to people.
The handshake, and it was like I'd throw an elbow.
Yep.
We had to train everybody on that.
Yeah.
And all our growers, if they weren't able to be on site, if they couldn't pass the hands washing, the social distancing, the masking sort of threshold. I am happy.
And now is all of that in the rearview mirror, or what?
Well, the other thing is we paid our growers throughout the year, all the way through. They were at home sitting, like a lot of other people. They couldn't be here working, but we paid them minimum wage, and in some cases better, hoping that we would come back, hoping that we could raise that money. And through the payroll protection program, that was a huge help.
Amazing.
It kept us connected to our staff. So if they weren't here, we were reaching out to them every week, a couple of times a week.
Nice.
Some people were able to Zoom, other people wouldn't have anything to do with that. We deliver them food, hand it to them, and keep that interaction and that familiarity going. So as we've opened up where we are today, to answer your question, well, today's a different day, but it's not that much different. We have chosen to stay masking in the buildings.
Okay.
We're more about 3 feet apart, although we're still at 6. We're all very comfortable with 6 and cautious. Out in the field, we are not masking, but we have masks with us. Okay. In case you're going to be in close proximity and someone feels uncomfortable. The default is, if anyone is uncomfortable being around people who are unmasked, we will all mask. Good. And so all it takes is one.
Yes. Good. I like it.
So
I have a few more questions before we go to our fast 5. So let's see. Can you do the quick pitch on your CSA and your composting? I'm a big composter. So talk about both of those briefly.
So our main vehicle for selling the vegetables to the community is the Community Supported Agriculture Program, which is a subscription service where you pay us in the winter and we grow it throughout we harvest for about a little over a 6-month harvest season. And we break that harvest season up into 3 trimesters, 3 sessions, spring, summer, fall.
Right.
So customers, of course, can learn about this on our website, but they buy any combination of those 3. Some people buy just fall if they're going to be away all summer.
Right.
Some people buy just spring, and so forth.
So the website, Woody, said sold out, sold out, sold out.
Yeah, you
Exciting.
can only grow so much.
That's amazing.
And with an equity lens, we're choosing to deliver vegetables to people who need it and can't pay for it, have lost their jobs, or for whatever reason are going to pantries and food banks.
So when people sign up, if it weren't sold out, and if people can be doing this in the future, is it delivered to them? Do they come pick it up? Because the compost, they've got to drop back off.
So we about 15 years ago, we went to an all-on-farm CSA. So rather than deliver down county, we do the CSA so that you get to meet the farmer, develop a relationship with the farmer. And I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about our growers.
Yes.
I'm talking about the people who do the real work.
Right.
And
it's once a week, right?
And they come once a week.
Right.
Between set hours. It's not for everybody because people, that's not flexible enough for them. And our culture has gotten people into this idea they can get whatever they want when they want it.
Right.
But we have a pick your own. So the most happiest customers are going out and picking flowers and herbs, basil and cilantro.
Nice.
And then also we do have a composting service as a part of it. We save kitty litter boxes, those yellow kitty litter.
Yeah.
And we clean them.
Yep.
When you come, you drop off your dirty and take a clean one. So you don't have to mess with it. And then we have a compost pile up here that we compost that and then plow that back into the land here.
Perfect. Great. So a couple of quick things. If you got a really big check, what would you do with it? What's the biggest trajectory of increase, expansion, improvement that you would dream about?
Well, there's some facilities things we do, but what I really want to touch on is we have started a care farm network. So if you like the idea of Red Wiggler, there are other farms like ours throughout the country, but not many, and we're not very well connected. There's no association that's tying these farms that are utilizing their farm for a social benefit. And so Red Wiggler has started a care farm network, and we have one person working part-time. And what we're wanting to do, we're building the website, doing the social media, but it's slow going.
Right.
And we're looking to ramp that up with staffing so that we can develop an association that, like Maryland Nonprofits does a great job on all of here's how you start a nonprofit. Here's best practices for running a nonprofit, but they don't tell you how to run grow vegetables with people with autism,
right,
or intellectual disabilities, or kids, or so we do not want to reinvent the wheel. If someone else has because what we do is not easy.
Right.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
From a lot of angles. And so my line is I'd like to see a care farm in every county across the country. And I think that areas like Montgomery County and the DC metro area, we could have many farms like this. They don't all have to mirror Red Wiggler and our model. They're going to be similar to, they're going to respond to the land and the people and what can work in that community. A care farm could be one farmette owner, and they bring in one person a week who has a disability, and they work out on the, picking
Okay.
tomatoes.
So establishing a national care farm network.
And
That's
care farming is very big.
Cultivating. So you are a punster, and so am I. You have used them more effectively in this kibbitz than I have. So there's the first one. So Woody, before we do the fast five, you got your degree at Denison University, which is where my brother went, and you studied fine arts and photography. And that was an early part of your career. Do you photograph, and what do you photograph now? And is it for fun or for revenue?
Well, maybe you can see behind me here, that's one of my photographs. It's actually called a photogram. It's about 9 feet tall, and 3 feet wide, or 2.5 feet wide. I recreate a 19th century process called cyanotype, and there's one again. And it's a cameraless process. And I show those. I've had shows. I haven't done much. I actually didn't do much art during COVID. A lot of my friends did. I was keeping Red Wiggler alive.
Yeah.
This has been a busy year. I know a lot of people were at home and kind of, we were trying to keep it together and make sure we could thrive coming out of COVID.
Amen.
So I didn't have the time.
Okay.
But what I'll say about people with art degrees and theater degrees,
yes,
they do great, in my experience, in the nonprofit world, particularly in development, because we're storytellers.
Yes.
That can annoy some people. Thank you for the long form. I enjoy telling stories. But if I had some business degree, I might have called it Montgomery County Community Farm. And I was at a party a long time ago. Oh shoot, I'm forgetting her name. Our Republican representative in Congress, woman.
Connie Morella.
Connie Morella. So it's
wonderful
like
woman.
1998, and I'm accepting a check from the Community Foundation of Montgomery County. And I have a name tag on. It says Woody Red Wiggler. Connie Morella makes a beeline to me and says, "Tell me about Red Wiggler."
Fabulous.
If it had said something more literate.
Yes.
So I just a plug in there for any parents listening whose kids are going to art school. Maybe they'll become famous artists. Maybe they'll just become, art lovers for life. Or maybe they will be creative people that solve problems in unique ways.
Amen. Yeah, good. I was going to correct you on your use of the word just, which is one of my pet peeves. Just become art lovers or just become nonprofit leaders. Those are part of what drive our community and diversify and enhance everything near where we live and work. So
thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. One of my pet peeves, but I have a lot of them. So
mine is, I hate it when people say obviously. It's not always obvious to everybody.
There you go. So Woody Woodroof, Red Wiggler Farm. Here's your fast five quick questions.
I'm a little nervous about this.
There you go. So let people get an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. I'm going to start off with one that is Red Wiggler, which is you have been recognized in so many ways for your brilliant work and leadership. What is one award that you are proudest of?
Well, that's, I think the one that nobody really knows about is a small thing. The park system gave I would rather say Red Wiggler, but granted, I'm a large part of that.
Yes.
An award for breathing life into Owen Hazen Wells Park. This park was an underutilized park property with a farm on it.
Okay.
And it took a lot of work to do that deal. A small nonprofit, I think our budget at that time was like $210,000. And I have no idea what the park is.
That 10,000 that you had in the beginning, it was still there, 210,000.
And the park has work plans and ways of doing things, and things generally are slow, and we needed to move fast.
Right.
It was like pushing a rope uphill
Okay.
to get it done.
But you got it done.
And it brought a big team of people together. It recognized not only what we had done, but what we could do.
All right. So
that's not very fast.
It's not very fast. This is fast 5. Question 2. You grow vegetables. Name one vegetable that you don't particularly care for.
Gosh, what do I not care for? I get this isn't entirely true, but eggplant.
Okay. Question 3. What is your favorite cuisine?
Say again?
What is your favorite cuisine?
I call it peasant food. I like just a one bowl and a rice and beans, and it's got something to flavor it that's fresh, whether that's just a simple chopped cilantro fresh from the garden, or onions and garlic and kale added in there. It can do a lot with rice and beans, and that's kind of but I call it just simple food.
I love it. As if you were giving a new startup nonprofit leader who had a vision, what is one brief piece of advice that you wish you had known back in 1995, 96 when you were starting?
That I wish I had known. Yeah. The thing is, my advice is something that had someone said it to me, I might not have done it.
And that is?
In many ways, I think there's room for new nonprofits. Let's not duplicate existing efforts. Let's look at the landscape. Is there a nonprofit that has a board already, and all of that backroom nonprofit stuff where you could run the program underneath of them? And that would have saved me a lot of heartache. At the same time, there wasn't any. Everybody thought I was crazy back then.
Well, it seems
but
like
my $10,000 went a long way.
There you go. Well, you kind of have your own lane. I would think others might be under you more than you under them. But the 5th question, Woody Woodroof. It's the question that I ask everyone. What is your hidden secret superpower? What is something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
Well, I am capable of putting a book on my head and balancing it. And when I lived in Manhattan, I would bet people subway money that I could go from one stop to the next with the book on my head. And then after it, I'd like sit down. And so I must have a flat head.
Okay, I think you can come up with something better. I have never not accepted somebody's first answer, but I need a better answer from
that I can balance. It's pretty impressive.
Okay.
All right, let's start over.
That is a given. Good. Let's do another one.
What is my hidden superpower?
Yep.
I would say I have a gift for seeing opportunities where other people sometimes don't.
That's amazing. That's perfect. I love it. Well, Woody Woodruff, Red Wiggler Farm, thank you for all that you do for individuals with and without disabilities, for students who have the experience, for student learning credit, for our farmers, for your growers, for markets like Dawson's that sell some of your produce, and for all of the customers who enjoy fresh fruits and vegetables year round, or almost year round, 3 seasons. Thank you for your creativity and your hard work. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for this opportunity I love the long form. I hope your viewers are still with us.
Hopefully they're with us. Otherwise they would miss your flathead story. So please stay safe. I look forward to seeing you before too long.
Take care.
Everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.